Good afternoon, everyone. The topic given to me is digital transformation. So I'm supposed to be talking about Proptech. I'm no Proptech guru, except that today I'm dressed like a digital CEO. But I'll try and give you a few insights on what's happening in the Proptech and digital transformation world. Also talk a little bit about how a company like ours, which is a professional services firm, is trying to convert itself into a digital firm. Also talk about some big global trends on what's happening. Firstly, I'll start with some of those big predictions which has been given by various tech gurus and how it's going to affect the real estate world. And these are all predictions which will definitely or most probably happen by 2025. It's estimated that artificial intelligence will be as powerful as human intelligence by 2025. So it's just a matter of another 6-7 years. It'll be as powerful as human intelligence. It's also estimated by 2025, workspace will become a headset. Today we need to go to an office building, we need to see our colleagues. What if tomorrow we are wearing a headset and all our colleagues are sitting around us? What happens to commercial real estate? There's enough research, enough new innovations being done to make that dream a reality, and it's expected by 2025 there'll be enough work headsets available where you could just sit at home and see everything that's happening around you. This will also lead to de-urbanization. Today everybody has to come to one place to work, but if this happens, things could happen outside. By 2025 to 2030, it's also expected that you could copy the human brain into a digital medium. Today we would have seen all this in science fiction movies, but this is expected to happen between 25 and 30. Ubiquitous Wi-Fi, which means Wi-Fi available for everyone across the world, that's again expected to happen in the next 6 to 10 years. The biggest fear is out of the 4 billion jobs available today, close to 2 billion of those jobs won't be available. And I'll tell you why some of those reasons. Power is expected to be created in microgrids at home. Today you need those transformers, those big grids operated by the state electricity boards. Power, and I hear these kind of products, you don't need to wait till 2025. It could happen in the next 2 years, where a power is created at home in a microgrid based on the size of an air conditioner. Driverless cars, we used to see those in James Bond movies 15 years back. We used to laugh. Already happening. If driverless cars happens, what happens to parking lots? What happens to delivery boys? What happens to truck drivers? What happens to bus drivers? What happens to car drivers? Where will all those jobs go? Education, open course movement. Why do we need educational real estate institutions if everything becomes online? Today on your phone, there's an app called the Apple University. Some of you would have seen that. It's an Apple sign with a U there. That has 500,000 courses available on it. So what happens to educational institutions? It is expected that that could lead to 50% of the educational institutions getting into trouble if online becomes so popular. 3D printers getting into action in many countries. You've already seen those videos on YouTube how 3D printers are making homes. What happens to all the construction workers if all the homes are built by 3D printers? Every physical task could be done by a robot. So what happens to aspects like mining? What happens to all the employment in agriculture? It's also expected that every year, given the advancement of given the advancement of medical technology, today the average life expectancy globally is around 68, but every year it's increasing by 1 year going forward. What happens to senior living at that moment? Again, an impact on real estate. Universal basic income, our government is already talking about it. If driverless cars come, obviously there would be traffic jams, there won't be accidents. We are also already talking about implantables in human brains coming in the next 7 to 10 years. artificial intelligence can replace a lot of clerical and service jobs. What happens to firms like ours, which are in the service business? How many jobs will we be able to retain? Crime obviously will reduce drastically, which also has an impact on real estate with drones and CCTV cameras going into the next level. The biggest thing is a lot of organizations can actually scale using automation without using large workforces. So what happens to all the large workforces which big companies have created? There would be separate highways for driverless cars. It's already starting in the US. Educational programs. Today we all have those 4-year engineering courses, a 2-year MBA program. All that today there are already universities talking about how you can do a 6-month engineering course or an MBA. So these are some high-level predictions which various tech gurus have made. I want to talk about some of the big digital trends happening as we talk. One is technology has become ubiquitous. It's available for everyone. We just need to open our phone. It's all there. Internet has become a standard building utility. Every building a few years back, having Wi-Fi in your building used to be a big deal, but today every company, every building today gives Wi-Fi. Connected devices has become a norm. It's very, very essential that all companies today start thinking in terms of how to create the right platform and product. Today we are doing quite a bit on this. I'll come to that slightly later. A lot of times the mistake which companies typically do is have their digital teams within their own business. This, according to me, is a big mistake, and what we are trying to do there is build teams outside the existing businesses. The main reason for that is your typical tech talent, your digital talent is very different from what would you see in a typical firm, a professional services firm like ours. One needs to house them independently and have no corporate processes at all. That's the key. There is obviously the smart connected devices changing all our lives. From a digital transformation point of view, companies need to keep in mind three big points. One is, what's your business model from a digital point of view? You don't have to create something for the heck of creating. There has to be a digital model, business model around it. Second is, whatever digital you're doing, how is it impacting the customer? What is the customer experience coming out of your digital? That's again important. And thirdly, you need to ask yourself, do you have the people and the culture capability? It's very easy to say I'm going to be a digital company, but do you have enough people for the transformation journey? And also, do you have the culture to convert yourself into a digital company? And data and technology is obviously completely changing our world. It's impacting every industry. We are seeing today in the real estate Proptech world, we are seeing thousands and thousands of new different startups entering our space. And this is also forcing us to embrace technology more than ever before. Luckily, so far, the Googles and the Facebooks and the Amazons haven't gotten into real estate. So there is still an opportunity to become a big player in real estate digital technology. There's so much of aspects like robots, automation, AI, all digitizing those human jobs. What is expected, and this is the scary part, the next 10 to 20 years, we'll see more disruption than what we've seen in the previous 10,000 years. So there's so much of change going to come because of technology. And 60% of the Fortune 500 companies will be out of business in the next 10 years. So we are a Fortune 500 company. I hope we don't go out of business. But that's the kind of change which is happening across the world. What are we trying to do? The first core objective is optimizing our client solutions. Today we are in the services business. And how can we looking at enhancing the client experience? We have access to a lot of data. I'll talk about that a little later. But we are also partnering. Not everything can be done by one company or your company. You need to keep thinking of how different ways to partner on the digital journey. companies like ours, which are built on linearity, predictability, and efficiency, will obviously find it tough. You need to change your mindset. You can't be, when you're in the digital journey, you can't be predicting revenues or profits in a linear way, or you cannot do things in a very efficient manner. One needs to look at alternate revenue streams. I'll also talk about that. Consumption pattern of customers is getting very, very different. It's going into mobile. It's flexible, on demand. Customers want services on demand, and obviously looking at asset light. Now let's come to what firms like JLL are trying to do, and I'm sure there will be some lessons for the audience from that. Firstly, we're spending a lot of money on digital. Every year as a firm, spending anywhere between $500 million to $700 million just on investments in technology. Our CEO is very committed to see if we can transform the company in the next 3-4 years into a digital company. We globally manage 4.6 billion square feet. Now, 4.6 billion, simple thumb rule of 100 square feet per person, means we are touching the lives of 46 million people on a daily basis. 46 million people who go to work. This is commercial office. So is there a way to collect data from this 46 million people on a daily basis? That's one. Second is we have 90,000 employees globally who are touching clients on a daily basis, whether it's facilities, whether it's project management, on the transaction side. These 90,000 people, is there a way the company can get data from all these people on a daily basis and use that data? Everybody is today talking of data being the next oil and being the next big resource. That is something we are trying to do. Still work in progress. We have basically divided our technology initiatives into 4 different buckets. First is what we call digital ventures. So we set up a small venture capital fund. It's a small fund to start with. It's a $100 million fund. So what they're doing is investing anywhere between $1 to $2 million in Proptech startups across the world. So let's say we have 100 million and we invest 1 million each. Now that's 100 possible investments. But what we are really looking at is when you're looking at 100 companies to invest in, you would at least look at 1,000 companies before you actually invest in 100. Which means the firm is getting a lot more knowledge of what's happening in the Proptech world from these companies in terms of across all businesses. So that's what we call our digital ventures. We set up a company called JLL Spark, which does only venture capital style of active investing. We are invested in a couple of companies in India. We're making one more investment in the next month, again in India, but globally we invested in around 12 to 14 companies. Second is what we call a digital solutions group, which sells technology products made internally as well as made externally. So that's something. It's the sales group which sells only digital products. We didn't have this group till a year back, but now we have that. Third is the digital products group. In this group, they actually are looking at developing, like a software company would do, like a tech company would do, developing in-house products in terms of from a digital point of view. So that's we hired a person named Vinay Goel in the US. He used to be the head of Google Maps. So he works with us now. He's very close to announcing a big digital product in the next 2 months or so. You will hear from JLL on that. This has been done in partnership with Google. Fourth is what we call TDIM, which is Technology, Data and Information Management. This is for all in-house. How does JLL become technologically efficient in-house? So we've been hiring a lot of tech people because, like I said, you may not have the internal resources for this tech journey. We hired, I spoke about Vinay Goel, the head of Google Maps. We hired someone who is the head of North America for cloud for IBM. We have hired some veterans from companies like Uber, from companies like Groupon. So they've again joined us. So the strategy is very simple. Previously, JLL would go offer services, a strategy and a service. Okay, this is the strategy we would discuss a strategy. This is give that consulting, and then we'll offer the service to actually execute it. So today what we are doing is combining one more aspect, which is technology with it, because we have access to those clients of thousands and thousands of clients globally. So we are offering them not just strategy and services, but also offering technology. So strategy, services, and technology. The good news for us is, like I mentioned, there is no dominant player in technology in real estate. So that's also the focus, to be the leader in technology in the real estate space. We are trying to reach there. There is also a lot of focus in terms of how do you drive digital DNA across the organization. It's not easy. It's a 250-year-old organization which is thinks in a certain way. So we are looking at thinking how we can do that. We are quite determined to make sure this happens. We are also investing a lot on internal technology processes, whether it's things like implementing Workday, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics. All this are the best internal tools for becoming more efficient. It's not cheap again, but investing a lot of millions of dollars on that. The biggest game changer is today we offer around 11 different services as a firm. How do we digitize every single service offering? It's work in progress, not yet reached there, but every single service offering, like if you're having an office transaction, if there are 12 different steps involved in an office transaction, today all those 12 steps, there are digital products available. At least for us, luckily, there's not one company which is doing all those 12 things. But we are trying to see how we can partner or self-develop to do that all 12 things digitally, make sure that digitize that service offering for our clients. I spoke about data. Today, we see data being used, companies getting valued just for their data. So we realize that when we have those 90,000 colleagues, if there is a place where we can get all the data, pool all the data from those 90,000 colleagues who are daily feeding in those data and bring them all together, there is obviously a big offering there. We are also developing client-facing tools, like I spoke about. That customer experience is very important. The big announcement which is expected in the next 2 months from JLL on that. We are also buying tech companies. We bought in 2 large tech companies, multi-million-dollar investments, more than $100+ million investments. A company called Corrigo and BRG, again, highly focused digital companies. The good thing is both these companies had a presence in India and development centers. I spoke about JLL Spark being today headed by 2 Silicon Valley veterans. That's the Proptech. We also set up a real estate innovation lab in partnership with MIT in MIT. We're looking at there they get a lot of ideas. Again, we are trying to tap into those ideas. From a landlord point of view, we truly believe that landlords need to prepare for more density. Landlords need to prepare for a new type of worker. The people who are working before and the people who are going to be working in the future. New types of workers, new types of working. And technology becomes extremely important for landlords to start thinking about in terms of how their buildings can offer that amenities, that facilities to the new worker and the new type of work. We're also looking at offering a virtual concierge. Today you need to make a phone call if you need to get a coffee, you need to book a conference room, you need to make that phone call. But today there are new technologies available where there could be a virtual concierge, where all the things which you need while working in an organization can be done in one shot. So that's it from me in terms of digital. The scary part is the automation part, which could also have an impact. Today you look at aspects like office real estate, which is like in an all-time high. I was in Hyderabad a couple of days back, and looking at the numbers, Hyderabad office real estate could touch some 11 to 12 million square feet this year in terms of absorption, and 4 years back it was 2 million square feet. Now all this demand which is coming, what we need to wonder and maybe a little bit worry is how is automation going to have an impact if all those things I spoke about early on really happens. definitely there will be an impact on jobs, which is already our country is enough challenges on job creation with 12 million people entering the workforce on a yearly basis. That's we need to find jobs for 1 million people a month. So what happens when all these things happen? Just some food for you to think about. Thank you.